So while you're out there clipping coupons and wondering if you can afford steak or shampoo this week, the federal government has been on a decade-long hiring spree, ballooning the bureaucracy by nearly 99,000 employees since 2016. That's the size of a mid-sized Alberta city. That's a Red Deer's worth of bureaucrats. That's not a typo. 99,000 new federal bureaucrats. You'd think with numbers like that, the government could at least answer a phone, process a passport, or deliver a benefit check on time, but no. Performance is still in the toilet, and according to the parliamentary budget officer, fewer than half of departments even meet their own performance targets. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation just dropped the receipts on what can only be described as a taxpayer-funded feeding frenzy. Back in 2016, there were about 259,000 federal bureaucrats. Today, nearly 358,000. That's a 38% increase in government staff. Meanwhile, Canada's population grew by what? Maybe 12% over the same period. But sure, we apparently needed 3 bureaucrats for every new Canadian. And here's where it gets worse. The average full-time federal employee now costs us $125,300 a year once you factor in their salary, pensions, perks, and paid time off for just about every grievance under the sun. And while Canadians were losing jobs or taking pay cuts during the lockdowns, the government handed out over 1 million pay raises and $1.5 billion in bonuses. So what's it all adding up to? A public service that cost $40 billion in 2016 now costs $69.5 billion in 2023-2024. That's a 73% increase in spending to get, well, less than ever. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where are all these new hires going? Well, let me tell you. 7 departments have more than doubled their staffing since 2016, including the DEI Ministry of Women and Gender Equality Canada, which grew by 334%, and Infrastructure Canada, which ballooned by a staggering 375%. Do you feel like you have 375% more infrastructure in this country? I sure don't. Meanwhile, Employment and Social Development Canada added nearly 17,000 people, and the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, your friendly neighborhood tax collectors, hired 13,000 more staffers to poke through your small business receipts. And what's the Liberal plan to fix this mess? According to their 2025 platform, they'll cap the size of the public service. Not shrink it, not reform it, not tie performance to funding or performance to bonuses. Just freeze the bloated mess in place and then call it a day. Just listen to what Franco Terrazzano from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has to say about this enormous blood-sucking mess.
So folks, okay, you are now paying for about 99,000 more federal bureaucrats today than there was a decade ago. But it's not just the size of the bureaucracy that is increasing, so is the cost. The cost of the bureaucracy has exploded 73% since 2016. 73% growth in the cost. Now ask yourself, folks, are you getting 73% better services from the federal government? Well, if you don't work for the government and you're not collecting a taxpayer-funded paycheck, the obvious answer is a big fat no.
Now, he's right. The Liberals have spent the last decade building an empire of bureaucrats, high-paid, underperforming, and practically impossible to fire. And now Carney wants to lock that empire in? Canadians can't afford this. If the size of the bureaucracy had simply grown in line with the population, we'd be saving $7 billion a year. That's money that could have gone to tax relief, to debt reduction, or to core services that Canadians actually use. Instead, it's going to endless middle managers, DEI consultants, a DEI ministry, carbon cops, and gender advisors. Next time you hear Ottawa whining about deficits or telling you there's no room in the budget for real tax relief or real spending cuts, just remember, they found room for 99,000 more bureaucrats. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Canadians deserve transparency and a government that respects your money, because the government doesn't have any money of its own. They just have your money. And we can see they're wasting it on inflated salaries and bizarre DEI projects. If you want to send the government a message, please go to exposethewaste.com and sign our petition.